Tax day is upon us, Tuesday, April 18th, and the process of filing taxes can definitely be overwhelming. To help us better understand the basics of tax filing and how to get the most out of that tax refund is Matthew Kidd, CPA and partner at Blunden and Kidd Accounting and Consulting. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, maybe I'm in the same boat as many people watching tonight. Tax day is coming up. I have not filed my taxes yet. Am I in trouble?
Nope. So I'd say the biggest thing is, look at filing an extension. For a lot of people, there's kind of a stigma that comes or a fear that comes with filing an extension. But the truth is it may be the best option for you, particularly if you're still gathering your deductions. You want to ensure that you're taking every deduction possible and maximizing your deduction so that you're paying the lowest tax possible. And often, if you file an extension, that gives you the additional time to button those things up. Now,
but if I owe money, let's say in the event I owe money, I owe it from April 18th on, correct?
So if you owe money, the extension is not an extension of time to pay, but rather an extension of time to file.
So the interesting thing with that is, let's say somebody owes money. Let's say I owe money. Let's say you owe money. You may not know you owe money. And so I guess that is the catch there where, you could be in trouble where all of a sudden you're owing potentially interest on that, right?
So interestingly, that's actually something that the American Institute of CPAs is working with Congress on right now, that is something that they would like to change, where the extension actually gives you an extension of time to pay as opposed to just an extension of time to file. For that exact scenario, is a complaint amongst people is that, yes, you can file an extension, but in reality, it's not really an extension because you still need to know within 80% accuracy what your tax liability is going to be.
So leading up to tax day next week, what are some things people can do right now? Let's say they have not filed their taxes, like me, a procrastinator. What can they do? What should they do at this point going forward?
Yep. So two common deductions that you can still take advantage of for the 2022 tax year are both IRA contributions and HSA deductions. So you have until tax day or April 18th in order to make those contributions. So that's something that you can do. Even if you don't complete the return by April 18th, if you make that contribution, you're allowed to deduct it.
Now, deductions have taken an interesting turn the last few years. Under Trump, the tax laws changed. So let's say things you could deduct and itemize, you can no longer. So how much confusion has that led to people when they're expecting maybe a bigger return?
So it created a lot of confusion initially. Because what happened is the standard deductions increased substantially with that 2018 tax reform. So a lot of people who were used to deducting their mortgage interest, real estate taxes, state income taxes, donations, they were no longer getting those deductions, but they weren't being shortchanged.
Because you feel like maybe you are being shortchanged. All of a sudden, I can't deduct this and this and this. But what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're getting more of it earlier.
Correct. Because before, let's say if you were married, the standard deduction would be about $12,000. Now it's about $25,000. So if before your mortgage interest and taxes were $15,000 for a year, you would itemize your deductions and get that $15,000 deducted. Now you're getting $25,000 with that standard deduction in lieu of itemizing.
So what are some common things that can be deducted right now? Are there any?
So I forget the exact percentage, but the vast majority of Americans take the standard deduction.
Okay.
So it's I don't remember, I want to say 20-30% itemize.
So for the average American, or for the average Michigander, what are some things, if any, people can go, oh, you know what, that would be good to bring up with my CPA or tax consultant to be able to get some sort of return?
The two big things that I mentioned earlier are the IRA and the HSA. And you can do either a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. The Roth may be a good option, particularly if you're on the younger side of things, because that is you don't get the deduction now, but it's going to grow completely tax-free.
And if you have any outstanding, let's say, tax issues from the previous years, obviously with the pandemic and a lot of people lost jobs and laid off and things of that nature that maybe didn't have the income coming in, how do you advise them to move forward here in this year?
So in Metro Detroit, particularly if you're low income, a great resource would be the Accounting Aid Society. So anyone whose household income is less than $60,000, the Accounting Aid Society will help you with any tax issues for free. And that's not just tax preparation. So they'll aid you in tax resolution with the IRS if you're receiving notices. If you haven't filed taxes in a few years, they'll help you. If you're not in that low income category, I'd highly recommend reaching out to a CPA.
How many people do you see procrastinating with their taxes? Are you seeing it more and more each year? Is it about the same? Do you have people like me running into the office the final day? How busy does it get over the next few days here?
So I'd say that it's about the same as it's always been, but the interesting trend that we're seeing this year is people aren't nearly as concerned about filing extensions.
Really? Why?
To be honest, I'm not totally sure. But when we tell people that, we're not sure we're going to get you your return, we may need to extend it, there isn't that same level of concern. So it may be from the prior few years, we've had some odd tax deadlines that got extended to May, got extended to July, where people just became more comfortable with not having those taxes done in February or March.
Any final strategies that you would stress to someone that's watching tonight about getting the taxes done and how to go about things?
Yeah, so the big things I mentioned, the IRA, the HSA, and then also consider filing an extension. The other thing I would say is that now is a great time to take stock of your overall financial picture. And then if you work with a CPA, reach out to them after the filing deadline to meet with them in a slower time of year to go through your financial plan. Because we do much more than just tax preparation.
And what is the average cost to file your taxes for the average person in Michigan?
So that is absolutely all over the board that I can't give a good answer on.
Okay, no worries. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Matthew, Kidd CPA and partner at Blunden, Kidd Accounting and Consulting. Thank you so much. Great insight. With tax day coming up, I know you'll be busy, and I need to get busy too, taking care of those taxes.